At the airport, she said, "Don't walk with me, you'll embarrass me in front of my friends." You ever have a sentence burned into your head so deep you can still hear the exact tone, the exact pitch, the exact moment it was spoken? Like an old record skipping on repeat. For me, it's 8 words. 8 little words that I'll probably carry with me for the rest of my life. Don't walk with me, you'll embarrass me in front of my friends. That was a sentence my girlfriend, well, at the time, Emily Parker, whispered to me at the airport. And the way she said it, casual, like she was asking me to grab her a coffee, but those words cut sharper than anything I'd ever felt. Let me set the scene. It was a humid summer morning, and I'd gotten up stupidly early to drive Emily to the airport. She was flying out to LA for some networking trip with her friends, really more of a bougie vacation where they planned to party on rooftops and post fake, candid Instagram photos. Me, I didn't mind. I wanted her to have fun. I'd taken the morning off work, carried her luggage down 3 flights of stairs, even packed her favorite snacks in my car for the drive. I wasn't asking for a parade, just maybe a hug, a smile, a thanks. But when we got inside the terminal, everything shifted. I noticed her body language first. Emily had been chatty in the car, ranting about some influencer drama, but the moment we stepped into that shiny, air-conditioned airport, she got stiff. Her eyes scanned the crowd like she was on a movie set. That's when I saw them, her group of friends, loud, fashionable, fake laughing at something Mark Reynolds was saying. Mark was one of those guys who always looked like he was auditioning for a cologne commercial. Perfect hair, smug grin, designer jacket. He and Emily's little crew gave off that "we're better than you" vibe. And that's when Emily leaned slightly toward me, lips barely moving, and whispered, "Don't walk with me. You'll embarrass me in front of my friends." Like I was a kid she was ashamed to bring to family dinner. I froze. You know that weird static sound you hear in your head when someone drops shocking news? That's what happened to me. My first instinct was to laugh, like she was joking. Embarrass her? Me? The guy who just carried her 60-pound suitcase and woke up at 5 a.m. to make sure she got here on time? But no, she was dead serious. She straightened her posture, adjusted her designer sunglasses, and walked ahead like I was a stranger. I stood there for a few seconds, holding her carry-on bag like a complete idiot. People were brushing past me, hurrying to their gates, and I was just stuck. I finally set her bag down, took a deep breath, and forced myself to keep walking, but not with her, not near her. I hung back, watching her join her group, laughing a little too loudly at Mark's jokes, tossing her hair like she was auditioning for The Bachelor. And me, I walked out of that airport alone. On the drive back, those words replayed over and over in my head. Don't walk with me. You'll embarrass me in front of my friends. I mean, what kind of person says that to someone who's supposed to be their partner? Here's the thing. I'm not some supermodel. I know that. I'm Ryan Carter, 25 years old, average height, average build, dark hair that never does what I want. I work a steady but unglamorous job in IT. My car's a decade old. I wear sneakers until they fall apart. But I've never thought of myself as embarrassing. I'm kind. I show up for people. I try my best. Isn't that supposed to matter more than how expensive your shoes are? Apparently not to Emily. Funny thing is, when I first met Emily, none of this stuff mattered. We met at a friend's barbecue 2 years ago. She was standing by the grill, struggling to open a stubborn bottle of soda. I walked up, cracked it open for her, and she laughed. That laugh got me instantly. It was real, unfiltered, the kind that makes other people smile just hearing it. She wasn't the Emily Parker I'd come to know later. She was just a girl in denim shorts, hair in a messy bun, telling me she was into indie bands and late night drives. We clicked fast. She teased me for not knowing how to flip a burger properly. I teased her about her terrible taste in music. Seriously, her playlists were chaos. Within a week, we were texting nonstop. Within a month, dating. Back then, she wasn't worried about who was watching. She'd hold my hand in public, post goofy selfies of us with bad lighting, even tell people how I fixed her Wi-Fi like it was some heroic act. I fell hard. But little by little, things changed. Emily started hanging with a different crowd, people like Mark Reynolds. She got into influencer culture, obsessing over outfits and aesthetic brunch spots. She started comparing me to the boyfriends of her friends, guys with six-packs and high-paying jobs in flashy industries. She never said it outright at first, but I could feel it in the little comments. Maybe you should try a different haircut. Do you really need to wear that shirt? Can you not bring up work stuff in front of my friends? It's kind of boring. Red flags, right? But I brushed them off. I told myself she still loved me underneath all that surface stuff. I wanted to believe the girl I met at the barbecue was still in there. By the time I pulled into my driveway that morning, my stomach was in knots. I sat in my car for a good 15 minutes, staring at the steering wheel. That's when my phone buzzed. A text from Emily. For a second, I thought maybe she was apologizing. Maybe she realized how cruel that sounded. Nope. It was just, landed safely. Going to dinner with the crew. Sex. Like nothing had happened. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. Instead, I shoved it in my pocket and went inside. My sister Lily was the first to notice something was off. She was sitting at the kitchen counter, scrolling through TikTok, when I walked in. "You look like someone just kicked your puppy," she said, raising an eyebrow. I muttered something about being tired, but she didn't buy it. Lily's only 22, but she reads me like a book. "Emily?" she asked flatly. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. She rolled her eyes. God, Rye. Why do you let her walk all over you? You're way too good for that. Later, I called Jason. He's my best friend. Loud, sarcastic, brutally honest. I told him what happened, and he actually laughed. Not because he thought it was funny, but because he couldn't believe the audacity. She really said that? Dude, dump her. Like yesterday. Even my mom, Karen, chimed in when she noticed I was quieter than usual that week. She's not the type to meddle, but she gave me that mom look, the one that says she knows more than she's letting on. Ryan, she said gently, don't let anyone make you feel small. You deserve someone who's proud to walk beside you. I wish I could say I stood up for myself right away. I didn't. I told myself Emily was just stressed or embarrassed in the moment or whatever excuse I could come up with, but deep down, something inside me had cracked. It's like when you drop a glass, not enough to shatter it, but enough to leave a hairline fracture running through it. It still looks whole, but sooner or later it's going to break. That's where I was, carrying around this invisible crack, replaying her words in my head every night before I fell asleep. Don't walk with me. You'll embarrass me in front of my friends. Over and over. And I had no idea that sentence was about to change everything. You'd think after the airport thing, Emily would have at least texted me something meaningful. An apology? Sorry, I didn't mean it like that. Hell, even a lame, my bad, would have been better than silence. But no. The night after she flew out, I got a string of Instagram stories of her at rooftop bars, sipping overpriced cocktails with her friends, laughing like she was living in a music video. No mention of me, no acknowledgement of how she'd basically told me I was an embarrassment less than 12 hours earlier. And the thing that messed me up most, she acted like nothing happened. When she finally called me 2 days later, it wasn't Ryan, we need to talk. It was, oh my God, Louisiana is amazing, babe. You would love it. We went to this brunch spot where they literally put edible flowers on pancakes. Meanwhile, I was sitting on my bed in sweatpants, staring at the crack in my ceiling, wondering why the hell my chest felt like someone had dropped a cinder block on it. When Emily got back from her trip, I half expected she'd walk into my apartment with guilt all over her face. Maybe even bring me a dumb souvenir mug as a peace offering. Instead, she breezed in, wearing sunglasses indoors, kissed me on the cheek, and started unpacking like we hadn't skipped an entire conversation. You wouldn't believe how much I miss my skincare routine, she said, like that was the most pressing issue in the world. I wanted to ask, hey, remember the part where you told me I was an embarrassment? But the words got stuck. Instead, I just nodded, carried her luggage to the bedroom, and helped hang up her clothes. Because here's the truth, I was scared. Scared that if I confronted her, she'd double down. Scared that she'd say out loud what I already suspected, that I wasn't enough for her or her. So I swallowed it, pretended, laughed at her stories, acted normal. But inside, that crack was spreading. It didn't take long for Jason to notice. We were grabbing beers at our usual dive bar when he leaned across the table, narrowed his eyes, and said, all right, spit it out. You've been quieter than usual. What's going on? I tried to play dumb. Nothing, man. Just tired from work. Bullshit. He sipped his beer, watching me. This is about Emily, isn't it? Jason had a sixth sense for my moods, probably because he'd been calling out Emily's behavior since day one. He was the guy who'd roll his eyes whenever she corrected how I pronounced a restaurant name or when she made me retake photos of her 10 times. So I caved. I told him about the airport, word for word. When I got to the part where she said, don't walk with me, you'll embarrass me in front of my friends, Jason slammed his beer down so hard foam spilled over. Dude, she actually said that and you're still with her? I felt my ears burning. Yeah, I don't know, maybe she didn't mean it like that. Jason leaned back, shook his head, and muttered, she meant it exactly like that. You just don't want to admit it? He wasn't being cruel, just honest. Jason's brand of tough love. But hearing it out loud made my stomach twist. Then there was Lily. She caught me staring into space one night while we were watching TV at Mom's house. Some dumb sitcom was playing, laugh track blaring, but I wasn't even processing it. Rye, she said, nudging me with her foot, you're doing that thing again. What thing? The sad puppy stare. I groaned. I'm fine. She paused the TV, crossed her arms, and raised an eyebrow. You're so not fine. Did Emily say something again? And just like with Jason, I cracked. I told her everything. Lily didn't yell. She didn't even sigh. She just looked at me with this mix of pity and frustration. You know she doesn't deserve you, right? She said softly. Like, I joke around a lot, but seriously, Ryan, you're you. You'd literally do anything for the people you love. That's rare. And she treats it like it's embarrassing. I swallowed hard, my throat tight. Maybe I'm just not enough for her. Lily's eyes softened. No. She's not enough for you. That hit me harder than I expected. If Jason was the voice of reason and Lily was the protective sibling, Sarah Collins was my anchor. Sarah and I had been friends since high school. We drifted in and out over the years, but whenever life got messy, she was the person I could text at 2 a.m. and she'd actually answer. One night, about a week after Emily got back, I finally broke and texted Sarah. Can I call? Need to vent. She called me instantly. No hesitation. I told her everything. The airport. The way Emily acted like nothing happened. The way I felt invisible around her friends. Sarah listened. Really listened. She didn't interrupt. Didn't rush me. Just let me spill. When I finally stopped, there was a long pause. Then she said, Ryan, do you hear yourself? You're describing a relationship where one person takes and takes, and the other one, you, is left empty. Her voice was calm, but it cut deep. Why are you with someone who's ashamed of you? She asked gently. I didn't have an answer. The next couple of weeks were like death by 1,000 cuts. Emily dragged me to a dinner with her friends. I wore a button-up shirt. Nothing fancy, but clean and ironed. The second we sat down, Mark Reynolds looked me up and down and smirked. "Nice shirt, man," he said, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "Retro look?" His friends laughed. I chuckled awkwardly, trying to brush it off. Emily didn't defend me. She didn't even look at me. She just sipped her wine and changed the subject. Later that night, when I tried to talk to her about it, she shrugged. "Oh, that's just Mark being Mark. Don't be so sensitive." But here's the thing. If she respected me, wouldn't she want to defend me? Another time, we went to a rooftop party. I stood by Emily's side, trying to join conversations, but it was like I was invisible. Nobody asked me questions. Nobody cared what I said. I was just there, the boyfriend accessory. At one point, Emily laughed at a joke Mark made about IT guys being glorified cable installers. She laughed at me. I went home that night and stared at myself in the mirror. For the first time, I didn't recognize the guy looking back. I wish I could tell you there was one big moment where everything became clear, but it was more like erosion. Each comment, each eye roll, each moment of silence from Emily when she could have had my back, it all chipped away at me. And the more it happened, the more I realized something brutal. Emily didn't see me as her partner. She saw me as a placeholder, someone convenient, someone who made her feel cared for when she wanted it, but who could be shoved aside when she needed to perform for her friends. The girl I met at that barbecue, the one who laughed with me about burnt burgers and sang along to bad playlists, she was gone. Or maybe she was never real to begin with. One night, lying in bed next to her while she scrolled through Instagram, I replayed the airport words again. "Don't walk with me. You'll embarrass me in front of my friends." She was inches away, but she felt like a stranger. And I realized the crack inside me wasn't just spreading, it was close to breaking. I didn't know it yet, but I was heading toward a point of no return. You ever have that moment where you're standing in a room full of people, but you feel like you're the only idiot who didn't get the memo? Like everyone else is playing this inside joke on you and you're just the punchline? That was me at Emily's friend's party. I should have trusted my gut and never gone, but Emily had pushed me hard to show up. "It'll be fun, Ryan. Stop being antisocial. Besides, people need to see us together." Notice the wording? People need to see us together. Not "I want you there or I'll feel better with you by my side." No, it was all optics with her at that point. The party was at Mark's penthouse. Yeah, that Mark. The human equivalent of a smirk. He was the guy who always had a whiskey in hand, some overpriced cologne, and a smug one-liner, ready to put someone down. And more often than not, that someone was me. Emily had warned me ahead of time, "Don't say anything weird tonight, okay? Just go with the flow." That should have been the red flag right there, right? My girlfriend telling me not to be myself. But at that point, I was still clinging to the version of Emily I fell for. Not the one she had become, or maybe the one she always was, and I just refused to see it. So there I was, beer in hand, standing in a sea of people I had nothing in common with. Mark's place was ridiculous. Floor-to-ceiling windows, showing off the skyline, expensive art on the walls that I was pretty sure he couldn't even name, and a balcony that screamed rich Instagram backdrop. Emily, she blended right in. She was laughing, sparkling, touching arms, flipping her hair like she was auditioning for a commercial. She was in her element. And me, I was the guy standing 2 feet behind her like a damn accessory. At first I tried, I really did. I forced myself into conversations. I smiled when I didn't feel like it. I even cracked a joke at one point about how Mark's abstract art looked like a toddler had gone wild with finger paint. People laughed, genuine laughs, not pity ones. For a split second I thought, okay, maybe I can survive this. But then Mark walked up, arm around Emily like they were old pals, and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "So Ryan, what do you even do again, like for work?" He knew damn well what I did. He'd asked me before, but he wanted me to say it, to compare myself out loud to him and his high-flying crew. I told him the truth. I was a graphic designer for a mid-sized marketing company, decent pay, steady job, something I actually enjoyed. Nothing glamorous, but solid. Mark smirked. "Cute. So like, you make the little ads that pop up on Facebook?" People chuckled. My face went hot. I looked at Emily, praying she'd step in, even just roll her eyes at him. Instead, she laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not a polite one. No, she laughed like he was the funniest guy in the room. And then she said it. The dagger. "Oh, Mark, don't be mean. He tries his best. He tries his best." That line might not sound like much on paper, but in the moment, it crushed me. Because it wasn't just a joke, it was her confirming to everyone there that, yeah, I was beneath her. The whole group erupted in laughter. And I just stood there, gripping my beer so hard I thought it shattered. Later that night, after most people had left and the buzz had worn off, Emily and I got into it. "Why would you say that?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady as we got into her car. "Say what?" She tossed her hair back like she genuinely didn't know. "You told everyone I try my best. You know how belittling that is?" She sighed like I was a child throwing a tantrum. "Oh my God, Ryan, it was a joke. You're so sensitive sometimes." "A joke? You laughed at Mark mocking me. You didn't defend me once." Her tone turned icy. "Because you were being sensitive. You can't expect me to babysit your feelings in front of my friends." That was when it hit me. All the little cracks that had been forming since the airport incident. They all split open at once. So I pushed further. "Do you even respect me, Emily? Be honest. Do you respect me at all?" There was a pause, and in that pause, I swear I saw the truth on her face before she even said it. "Ryan, look." You're a nice guy, you are, but sometimes I feel like you're not on my level and I can't keep dragging you up with me. Dragging me up? My voice broke on the words. She folded her arms. I mean, look at you compared to my friends. You don't fit. And it's exhausting trying to make it work when you don't even want to be more. You're comfortable being average. Average. That word hit me harder than any punch ever could. I stared at her, and for the first time, I saw Emily clearly. Not the girl I fell for, not the sweet version from the early days, but the person she truly was. Someone who cared more about appearances than about me. When I told Jason later, he didn't sugarcoat it. Dude, she's been trashing you for months. I don't know why you're acting surprised. I tried to defend her, out of habit. It's not that simple. No, it is that simple. Jason cut me off. She doesn't respect you. Period. And if a girl doesn't respect you, she doesn't love you. End of story. Jason had that way of ripping the band-aid off, no hesitation. Sarah, on the other hand, was softer about it. I called her the next day and she listened while I poured it all out. The party, the fight, the words Emily had thrown at me. Ryan, she said gently, do you hear yourself? You're begging someone to value you. That's not love. That's self-destruction. I wanted to argue. I wanted to cling to Emily, to the memories, to the idea that maybe it could go back to how it was. But deep down, I knew Sarah was right. The breaking point came a week later. Emily and I met up at her apartment to talk. I thought maybe we'd patch things up. Maybe she'd apologize. Maybe there was still something worth saving. But the conversation went the exact opposite. I think we should take a break, she said, not even looking at me as she scrolled through her phone. I let out this bitter laugh. A break? No, Emily, we're done. That made her look up. She blinked like I had just spoken a foreign language. What do you mean, done? I mean, I'm not going to keep killing myself to be good enough for someone who doesn't even see me. For once, she didn't have a comeback. Just silence. I grabbed my jacket, walked out her door, and didn't look back. Walking away that night was one of the hardest things I've ever done. My chest felt like it was caving in, my stomach twisted, my hands shaking. But underneath all that pain, there was this tiny spark of relief. For the first time in years, I wasn't bending over backward to please someone who would never be pleased. For the first time in years, I was free. And let me tell you, Reddit, when you reach that breaking point, when you finally put yourself above the person who keeps tearing you down, it feels like both a death and a rebirth at the same time. I didn't know what came next. I didn't know how long it'd take to heal, but I knew one thing for damn sure. I was never going to let someone make me feel average again. If you've ever had your heart shattered into a million little pieces, you know what comes next. That weird limbo where you're stuck between wanting to curl up in forever and wanting to prove to the whole damn world that you're not the pathetic mess they think you are. That was me. Walking out of Emily's apartment felt like ripping off my own skin. I replayed every word she said on a loop. You're not on my level. You're average. I can't keep dragging you up. At first I drowned in it. I spent a couple of days sulking, scrolling through old photos of us, second guessing whether I'd overreacted. But then I caught myself. I literally heard Emily's voice in my head saying, he tries his best. And something inside me snapped again, but this time in a good way. I thought, all right, if I'm just a guy who tries his best, then maybe it's time I actually start becoming my best. The gym was my first step. Now, don't get me wrong, I wasn't some out-of-shape slob, but I'd gotten comfortable. Too comfortable. I was the pizza and Netflix type of guy, while Emily's friends were all brunch and Pilates. So I signed up at this no-nonsense gym near my apartment. The first day was brutal. I walked in and it felt like everyone there was born with six-packs. I struggled through the machines, my arms shaking, sweat dripping, convinced half the room was laughing at me. But then Jason showed up. Bro, he said, clapping me on the shoulder while I wheezed on the treadmill. I'm proud of you. You look like a dying walrus, but hey, you're here. Classic Jason. Sarcasm with a side of loyalty. He started coming with me a few times a week. He wasn't exactly a fitness guru, but he made it fun. He'd crack jokes while spotting me on bench presses or yell dramatic WWE-style commentary whenever I finished a set. And little by little, I got better. The weights didn't feel as impossible. My clothes started fitting differently. For the first time in a long time, I looked in the mirror and thought, damn, progress. Work was next. I'd always been good at my job. Graphic design came naturally to me, but I'd been coasting. With Emily, work had just been a paycheck, something to mention at dinners when people asked, so what do you do? But now, work became my anchor. I started volunteering for projects I would have avoided before. I stayed late to sharpen my skills, dove into new software, and even pitched a few bold campaigns to my boss. And people noticed. My coworkers started coming to me for advice. My boss pulled me aside one day and said, Ryan, I can see the fire in you lately. Keep it up. That hit different. Because for once, I wasn't chasing validation from someone who'd never give it. I was earning respect in a place that mattered. Then came the hobbies. Before Emily, I used to play guitar. Nothing fancy. Just strumming in my room, writing dumb little songs, covering old rock classics. But with her, that part of me faded. She'd roll her eyes whenever I picked it up. That's cute, Ryan, but can we not? So, after the breakup, I dusted off my guitar and started playing again. At first, my fingers ached from being out of practice, but soon it all came back. Those quiet nights, just me and the chords, were therapy. Lily, my sister, walked in on me one day mid-song. Wow, she said, leaning on the doorframe. So my brother's actually talented. Who knew? Shut up, I laughed. But secretly, her little jab meant the world. Lily's teasing was never cruel. It was her way of saying she believed in me. My mom, Karen, was another rock during this time. She had that mom intuition where she could sense my mood just by hearing my hello on the phone. One night, she called while I was cooking. So, she said casually, how's my favorite son doing? Mom, I'm your only son. Then you're my favorite by default, she quipped. Then softer, I'm proud of you, Ryan. I can tell you're different lately. Stronger. Hearing that from her nearly broke me. Because when you're rebuilding yourself, sometimes the people who've loved you all along are the ones who remind you you're not starting from scratch. You're just rediscovering yourself. And then there was Sarah. I don't even know how to describe what she meant to me during that time. She wasn't just a friend. She was my mirror. She reflected back the parts of me I'd forgotten about. We'd have these long, late night talks. I'd call her at 11 p.m. saying, hey, you up? And she'd always answer, for you? Yeah. What's on your mind? Sometimes we talked about Emily, about the pain, the confusion. Other times we just laughed about random things. Memes, dumb stories from college. The fact that Jason once tried to impress a girl by pretending he could juggle and ended up breaking a lamp. One night, after I'd been rambling about how worthless Emily made me feel, Sarah interrupted. Ryan, she said, her voice steady, you've got to stop letting her live rent-free in your head. You're not worthless. You're one of the most thoughtful, creative people I know. You've just been giving all your energy to someone who didn't deserve it. I went silent, because no one had ever said it to me that bluntly and with that much belief. That night, I slept better than I had in months. And as I rose, I started noticing something. Emily was falling. Her perfect image was cracking. Through mutual friends, I heard whispers. Mark had started mocking her behind her back. Some of her besties stopped inviting her to brunches. Apparently, her obsession with looking flawless had gotten so exhausting that even her shallow circle was tired of it. It was ironic. The very thing she valued most, status, appearances, was slipping away. Then came the text. Hey Ryan, can we talk? I stared at it for a long time. Part of me wanted to delete it. Another part wanted to scream at her, but curiosity won. We met at a cafe, neutral ground. She walked in looking different. Not the polished, confident Emily I remembered. She looked tired. There were shadows under her eyes, her smile forced. Ryan, she started, reaching for my hand across the table. I pulled mine back. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry, she said, for everything. I shouldn't have said those things. I shouldn't have treated you that way. I watched her carefully. The old me would have melted, but now I saw through it. Why now? I asked. She hesitated. I miss you. I miss us. But then her voice cracked on the word miss, and I knew. She didn't miss me. She missed the stability I gave her, the safety net. I leaned back in my chair, took a deep breath and said, Emily, I hope you figured things out, but I'm not your backup plan. Her eyes widened. She opened her mouth to protest, but I stood up. Goodbye, Emily. And for the first time, I walked away from her without looking back. Reddit. I can't explain the power of that moment. Rejecting someone who once held your heart in a chokehold, it's liberating. I wasn't angry. I wasn't bitter. I just felt whole because I realized something. Rising from the ashes doesn't mean proving someone wrong. It means proving yourself right. And damn, it felt good. Airports. Funny how a single place can hold so much weight in your life. For me, airports weren't just about flights or security lines or overpriced sandwiches. They were about that day. The day Emily whispered those words that carved themselves into my brain. Don't walk with me. You'll embarrass me in front of my friends. For months, anytime someone said airport, I didn't think of travel or vacations. I thought of humiliation. I thought of standing there, carrying her bag, watching her glide off to her friends, while I felt like the invisible baggage handler she wished she didn't know. But here I was again. Same place. Different me. This time, I wasn't here to see someone off. I was here for me. My company had just sent me to a conference in Chicago. Graphic design wasn't just a stable paycheck anymore. It was becoming something I was damn good at. Something I was respected for. My portfolio had gotten recognition. Clients were requesting me by name. And now, I was being flown out to speak on a panel about creativity in marketing. Me. The guy Emily said was average. So I rolled my suitcase through the automatic doors, checked my boarding pass, and felt this rush of energy. The airport didn't scare me anymore. It felt like a stage. I was wearing a fitted blazer that Jason swore made me look like James Bond if he shopped at Target. Slim jeans, and the confidence of someone who had clawed his way out of rock bottom and rebuilt piece by piece. And then it happened. I saw her. Emily. It was almost cinematic. The kind of moment you'd swear was scripted if it happened in a movie. She was standing near the departure board, clutching her phone like it was a lifeline. At first, I wasn't sure it was her. She looked smaller somehow. Not physically, but in presence. The girl who once strutted through crowds like the world was her runway. Now looked like she was trying to convince herself she belonged. Her hair wasn't as perfectly styled. Her designer bag had scuffs. And while she still had that polished smile plastered on, I could see it. Those little cracks underneath. And then I noticed she wasn't alone. She was with two women I vaguely recognized from her friend group. They were talking animatedly, laughing loudly, while Emily trailed half a step behind, nodding a little too hard, laughing a little too late. She wasn't the center anymore. She was orbiting. I should have felt something. Anger, bitterness, maybe even satisfaction. But I didn't. I just felt calm. I kept walking, my suitcase rolling smoothly behind me, my stride steady. And then our eyes met. For a split second, time froze. I saw recognition flash in her eyes, but it wasn't like before, where she had the upper hand. This time, she was the one shrinking. She shifted, looked away quickly, like she hoped I hadn't noticed her. But I had. And unlike that first airport scene, I didn't feel like the embarrassing accessory. I felt like someone who finally knew his worth. I found my gate and sat down, pulling out my laptop to go over some notes for my panel, but I couldn't help reflecting on how far I'd come. Because the truth is, I wasn't just walking tall at the airport. I've been walking tall in life. Jason was right all along. Respect in a relationship isn't optional, and I'd stopped giving mine away for free. Lily had been my hype squad, cheering me on every time I made progress. She even joked recently, Emily's loss is the world's gain, which made me laugh harder than I expected. Mom kept reminding me she was proud of me. Not for the panel, not for the job, not even for the gym gains, just for being me again. And Sarah, well, Sarah had become more than just a late night call. We weren't rushing into anything, but the connection between us was real. She saw me for me, not for what I could give her or how I made her look. And honestly, that alone felt like winning the lottery. After a while, I packed up my laptop and walked toward the cafe near my gate to grab coffee. And that's when I passed Emily again. She was standing with her friends, laughing at something, but when I walked by, she froze. Her laugh cut off mid-note. One of her friends glanced at me, then at her, and smirked. Emily's cheeks flushed. She looked down, fumbling with her phone. And in that moment, I realized the power dynamic had flipped. Once, I was the one she was ashamed of, the one she didn't want seen, the one who embarrassed her. But now, she couldn't even meet my eyes. As I boarded my flight, I took one last look around the terminal. 2 years ago, I left this place shattered. Today, I was leaving stronger. I thought about those words, she whispered. Words that used to echo in my head late at night. Don't walk with me. You'll embarrass me in front of my friends. And I smiled. Because now, I walked with my head high. And it was her, Emily Parker, who couldn't walk beside me. She wasn't embarrassed by me anymore. She was embarrassed of herself. Reddit, let me leave you with this. Your worth is never defined by someone else's inability to see it. At the airport, she said I'd embarrass her. Today, I walk with confidence, and she's the one hiding in the crowd. That was my closure. That was my redemption. And if you're reading this while still stuck in the Emily phase of your life, hear me loud and clear. You don't need to prove yourself to the wrong person. You just need to remember who the hell you are. All right, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the story. We have so many more amazing stories coming your way, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. Our goal is to reach 100K subscribers by the end of this year, and we'd love for you to be part of this journey. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.